My name is Jaime Esteban Camargo Mena for third semester of Law, Group A. I am gonna read the Helen Keller history. Helen Keller, the girl who could not see, hear, or speak. Sometimes we might feel frustrated with our poor advance in learning a foreign language. Nevertheless, with the next history, we shall find a logic example of persistence and overcoming in a particular situation. Then we wouldn't say, or dare not to say, I can't, once again in our lives. I did like you to know the story of Helen Keller, who could neither see or hear from the time she was a baby. Therefore, later she couldn't even talk. However, the Brian girl was able to overcome all those handicaps with honors and become a useful citizen. I must say there was nothing wrong with Helen Keller when she was born. Her father and mother were very proud of their pretty baby, who tried to say Papa and Mama. For 90 months, Helen grew bigger and stronger. She was able to walk. When she was a year old, she could say a few words. But one day the child fell ill. She must have been very ill. For days, she was laid up with a high fever, and soon the parents learned that their darling would never be able to see and hear once more in her life. The little child was now doomed to a life of silence and darkness. She could not hear what was said to her, and did not know how to talk. She was unable to play with other children. When Helen was 6 years old, her parents took her to Baltimore and then to Washington to famous doctors to find out if they could do something to make her hear and see again. But the doctors could do nothing. The child was hopelessly deaf. Dr. Bell said the killers should address the Perkins Institution for the blind in Boston and ask if they could send someone to help the child. Although it needless to say how miserable her parents felt. They never gave up their enterprise of giving her daughter the chance to live a life. It was a wonderful day for Helen Keller when Anne Sullivan arrived in March 1887 to take charge of the child who could neither hear or speak. Helen was nearly 7. Anne Sullivan was past 20. Anne Sullivan found a way to make herself understood. She gave the child a doll, and taking Helen Keller's hand, she slowly spelled out DOL. The child learned for the first time that the things must have names. When Miss Sullivan later spelled into the little girl's hands the word WATER, and then let the water from the palms run over her hand. A new light seemed to brighten the face of the child. During the next 3 months, she learned 300 words and could even put some of them into sentences. Miss Sullivan loved her pupil, who was so quick to learn. They need not have saved efforts. They spent them all to accomplish their goals. So she lived with Helen, played with her, and worked with her every hour of the day by means in the hand language. Helen and her teacher were able to talk to each other. Helen learned to read books that were printed for the blind with raised letters. She also learned to use the typewriter to write what she wanted to say. When Helen was 10, she was determined that she would learn to speak. At first, she might have learned only the sounds of the letters of the alphabet, but soon she was able to say words and sentences. In the history of her life, Helen Keller writes, I shall never forget the surprise and delight I felt when when oh my god I lose the surprise and delight I felt when I uttered my first connect sentence. It is warm. At first, she had much difficulty with her speech, but Anne Sullivan understood what Helen tried to say. Helen practiced speaking day after day, until at the last she developed a clear voice. Later, she was able to speak. Before large crowds which came to her whenever she lectured. At the age of 20, Helen Keller passed all the difficult entrance examination to Radcliffe College. Helen did extremely well in her classes and was able to keep up with the other students. Helen wrote the history of my life. While she was in college, in her readings and lectures, Helen did everything she could to help and encourage others who were blind. Thank you.